Hi children, good morning. I welcome you all to today's video class. In today's video class, what you are going to learn? I am going to discuss with you in detail the third chapter, Go Ball and the Hills of Fish. I am going to discuss with you in detail the third chapter titled as Go Ball and the Hills of Fish. Let me give you a brief introduction about this lesson. Okay, this lesson is a comic visualization of a story. It's a story. The story has been written or expressed by the writer in a humorous way. Therefore, it is said that this lesson is a comic visualization of a story. In the story, there was a king. He was in his court with his co-sharers, and he was ruling his kingdom in a justice manner. All the people were so happy in that kingdom. So one day it happened. The circumstances made the king to call one of his co-sharer by name Go Ball. The king challenged the co-sharer Go Ball, and the co-sharer Go Ball accepted the challenge. And he tried his level best to fulfill the challenge. How he fulfilled his challenge? What was the challenge? The circumstances which forced the king to put up that challenge with the co-sharer. Everything we are going to see in detail in this chapter. Okay, children? Yeah. To begin with, who was Go Ball? Go Ball was a co-sharer. He was a co-sharer and he was a jester. He was a senior among all the people, those who are working in the court. And everyone listened to him. Everyone listened to his words. Everyone has good respect on him. So that co-sharer Go Ball is a senior most among all the co-sharers. And he wins the respect and love of all other peoples also. So the citizens of their kingdom, the people of their kingdom, everyone knows Go Ball very well. Okay, this was about Go Ball. Go Ball was a co-sharer and he had lot of humorous sense. Often he cracks jokes to make others happy, and he was senior among all the co-sharers. So everyone has respect on him, and everyone is ready to hear his words and advice. He was in the court, and he was also very close to the king. Okay, fine. Then next, let me give you a brief idea and definition about the hills of fish. What is hills of fish? Hills of fish is a kind of a silvery fish. Normally, this silver fish is found in the Indian rivers, and see a kind of a silvery fish which is found in the river, and these fish also found in and around the coastal area of Bay of Bengal, and it is the cheapest and the most important export item of Myanmar is this silver fish, that is this hills of fish. So Myanmar exported many goods to other foreign countries, but this hills of fish was the most exported food items of Myanmar. This hills of fish is abundantly found in all Indian rivers. They are also found in the coastal areas of Bay of Bengal. Okay, fine. This hills of fish is a kind of a fish. It is a silvery fish like that. It looks like silvery fish. Okay, fine. It is a seasonal fish. This fish is available only during a particular season. And that particular season, it is available or it is caught abundantly. It's caught in abundance. Okay. So it was a season for the hills of fish. In the lesson, the writer talks about the season. It was a season for the hills of fish. So what happens? All the fishermen, fishmongers, starts to catch these hills of fish alone. So it was a season for hills of fish. The fishermen caught a lot and lots of them, and more abundant quantity. See, more and more hills of fish they brought to the market. They sold them in the market. So during it is a season for the hills of fish. So the fishermen used to catch lots and lots of these hills of fish. The fishermen caught a lot of them. They brought all their catch to the markets, and buyers also very happy to buy hills of fish, because during such seasonal times the price fixed for this hills of fish is very low, or the sellers are ready to sell this product at lowest price, because the supply is abundant as compared to the demand. They sold them in the market. The prices they set were down. This news was discussed by almost all householders, the buyers, the sellers, the people who comes to market to buy the products are also. So everywhere you can find all the people during such a seasonal season, everywhere you can find the people were discussing about this hills of fish. They used to go to the market. They buy in large quantities, and even the children also likes to taste this hills of fish. Buyers and even the courtiers were all busy discussing the hills of fish. One day it happened. A courtier who got a big sized hills of fish, and he talked much about the hills of fish among all the courtiers. So one day it happened. They were amazed that the fish came to such a low price. So he discussed about the selling of the hills of fish in the market. In the palace, other courtiers also discussed. They joined him to discuss the matter. So a courtier showed the king a big hills of fish also. He had caught. He proudly told the king that, King, Majesty, your honor, see, I have brought this hills of fish. So he started to say more and more about that hills of fish to the king. The king lost his temper. He became so angry. Then the courtier became very silent and sad. The king lost his temper. He realized his mistakes. He told that even everywhere, wherever I go, wherever I turn, everybody starts to speak only about the hills of fish. What happens to my subjects? What happens to the citizens of my kingdom? They don't have any other subject to discuss. Everywhere they are discussing about this hills of fish only. What happens to my peoples? Why they are behaving in such a way? Why they are always discussing about the hilsa. So the king became very angry. He lost his temper. Then other courtiers became very silent. They put full stop to discuss about the hills of fish. They stopped discussing the hills of fish. Then the king annoyed Gobal. He called the senior courtier, a wise man, an intelligent man, a clever man. He asked him, you are the senior, why can't you make the people stop talking about the hills of fish? Everyone is ready to follow your advice or words. Why can't you take such an effort to make the people stop talking about the hills of fish? Then the courtier Gobal accepted. At the same time, the king challenged him. The king put up a challenge. See, he called Gobal, I want you to face or to accept the challenge what I am going to put up with you. Then the courtier politely accepted. Yes, king, I am here at your majesty. Then the king told him, you have to go to the market. You have to buy a big size hills of fish. You have to come with that hills of fish to the court, but no one should talk anything about that hills of fish. No one should ask you anything about that fish. So you have to bring such a hills of fish without anyone's command to the court. this was a challenge I like to put up with you. Would you be ready to accept this challenge? The king asked Cobalt. As it is challenged by the king, no other way, he politely accepted. Yes, your majesty, I will try my level best as you said. I accepted this challenge. I would try to fulfill this challenge. He politely replied. Then the king was so happy. Then he came to his house. He started to think about the challenge. How I'm going to fulfill the challenge, what I'm supposed to do. He thought. He then, after a long thinking, he devised a plan. But he didn't share all these things with his wife. His wife asked him, what you are thinking deeply? What's your problem? But he didn't disclose the things. He didn't discuss it with his wife. So he started to devise a plan. What plan he has devised? He started working accordingly. He became half-shaven. Half-side only he saved. He had half-shaven. He's saying this side alone. And he became half-shaven and covered. Then he took the powder of the ash. You know that ash, ash powder. So he put ash powder and he applied all the ash powder on his face. Okay, then he put on rags. Then he put on that he said that he covered himself with. Then he also, what type of dress he wants to wear, takes a torn and a dirty cloths. Torn and a dirty clothes. So he became half-shaven. So he half-shaven and smears. He applied the powder of ash all over his face. No one could identify Gopal. Then he puts on torn and dirty clothes. Now he looks like a beggar. He looks like a filthy beggar or a beggar. He's rag pickers. He looked like a filthy beggar or rag picker. His wife asked him, but he listens, but he just didn't say anything to her. So with that he went to the market. Listen to me very carefully, children, how he made himself to view to others. He became half-shaven. He shaved off of his face. Then he applied more and more of ash powder. Then he put on wears dirty and torn clothes. So in all these things he looks like a filthy beggar or a rag picker. Then what happens? He went to the market. Okay, he went to the market. There he got a big size hilsa fish. From the market he bought a big size hilsa fish and he walked towards the palace. You just imagine, all along the children, all along the road, the children were playing and the people were crossing. Many people crossed him. They too asked, see, but no one talked anything about the hilsa fish he had in his hand. Though he had a large hilsa fish in his hand, no one talked, no one asked him anything about the hilsa fish he had in his hand. But everyone looked at him strangely. Wow, what a strange man. From where he came? A beggar started roaming here and there in the streets of our country. From where he might have come, they just started to think like that. And you know that some children, so in the sea, no one is interested. That's very important. In the fish, they carried by him. And when he was just walking along the road, children started to make fun of him. Some called him, they think that he is a beggar. Then Gopal bought hilsa and started walking. A child cried when he was walking towards the palace, the children who were playing on the roadside, a child noticed his strange dressing and his strange walk and the fish he held in his hand. All these things made the child to make fun of him. The child cried, "Oh, come here, come here. Look, the man was comical. Look, look, he was a comical." The child cried. But he didn't notice. He didn't take that comment seriously. He just continued his walk. Then another one called him, "Ah, madman. Oh, see, a madman is here walking with a madman is walking, that's all." No one talked about the fish he had in his hand. That was a challenge made by the king. What was the challenge once again? Yeah, he had to bring a big size hills of fish to the court without anyone's comment. No one should talk anything about the hills of fish. In such a way, he had to bring hills of fish to the court. That was a challenge challenged by the king. Then the third one mistook him for a mystic. The third one mistook him. See, all along the road the people were watching him. He was in strange dress. He was looking just like a filthy beggar, mystic. Some people called him for a mystic. Some called him insane, a madman. Some called him a madman. And some children called him, he was a comical. He was a comical. But here the one important thing to note, no one talked anything about the fish he had in his hand. His way of walking, his torn and dirty dresses, all these things made the people to laugh at him. They called him like a beggar, a rag picker, a mysterious man, a madman, an insane, a comical, a mystic. So people called him, but no one talked anything about the fish he had in his hand. So Gopal reached the court. He was stopped by the security guard at the gate. They asked him, no one could easily identify it was Gopal. They asked him what he wanted. Then he told that the gods, he wanted to see the king. I want to see the king. They didn't allow him to enter. He argued with them, no, I want to see the king. Give me permission. Let me go in. I want to meet the king. But they stopped him. Oh madman, what is wrong with you? We never allow the madman, or we never allow the beggars, we never allow the rag pickers to go and meet the king. Just to go back, man. They threatened him. They stopped him. Then Gopal began dancing. Then to draw the attention of all the people and the king and the courtiers, he started to dance. Standing before the palace, he started to crying loudly. So when he started to dance, he cried loudly. I will show you the picture here. See, this is hills of fish. You can see this picture clearly, children. This hills of fish is a kind of a fish, and it's a kind of a silvery fish. It's available in plenty in Indian rivers. It is also available in plenty in the coastal area of Bay of Bengal. It is Myanmar's cheap exported item. So among all the food items, Myanmar exports more and more of hills of fish to other foreign countries. Okay, so this is a picture of a hills of fish. You can have a good view of this fish. See the court scene. Here in the court scene you can see the king and the courtier Gopal, how he was challenged by the king, why the king challenged him, how he faced the challenge, how he successfully completed his challenge. Okay, fine. See, it's a court scene. In the court scene you can see the king and the courtiers. Gopal was one among them, and he was challenged by the king. What king see, then when he was stopped at the gate, he was not permitted to go and meet the king. He argued with the security guards. He requested them to allow him to go inside to meet the king, but they didn't give him permission. Then he started to dance before other peoples. He wanted to draw the attention of the king as well as other courtiers. He started to cry loudly. They reported the matter to the king. Then the king ordered, bring that man inside the palace. Bring that man inside the palace. The king ordered. He further said, the man is crazy. The man is crazy. Throw him out at once. I want to see the king. Let me in. Okay, so the king ordered. The other courtiers went. Bring that man to me at once. Yes, your majesty. Then what happened? See, the king ordered that man, the courtier, to bring that madman who was dancing and crying outside the palace. Okay, then what happened? They brought Gopal and they he was made to stand before the king. Then Gopal introduced himself before the king. He asked the king, Majesty, could you identify me? He politely asked the king. See, Gopal introduced himself before the king. The king asked him. First, king couldn't identify him. He was so astonished when he revealed, when he disclosed his identity. Even the king actually couldn't identify the Gopal because he was in such a way he dressed up himself, so he didn't identify him. But the king asked him. Later he disclosed. Later he expressed who was he. Then the king was very much astonished and surprised. Wow, Gopal, really I was so surprised to see you in this dress, and the way you danced and the way you came to the court. I never expected these things. Why you behaved in such a way? I couldn't understand. Why you dressed up like this, like a beggar or a rag picker, and applying more and more of ash powder on your face? What happens to you? Why you behaved? Why you dressed up in such a way? The king asked him. Then the Gopal explained that when he was coming, he reminded the king about the challenge. He asked the king, could you remember the challenge which you put up with me? On the day when people and other courtiers started discussing about the hills of his, you became very angry. And then you asked me to make the people not to speak anything about, especially the courtiers. You asked me to request the courtiers not to speak anything about the hills of his thereafter, and you also challenged me to bring a big size hills of his from the market to the court. But no one should talk anything about that hills of fish when you are bringing that to the court. That was a challenge you put up with me. Could you remember, your majesty? Then the king remembered, yeah. Yes, I put up you with the challenge. Really, you succeeded. Then he asked Gopal how you came from the market to the palace. Didn't anyone ask you anything about the fish which you had in your hand? Okay, now Gopal replied, see, when he was coming to the palace, not even a single man talked about the hills of fish. Everyone got attracted towards the peculiar look and the dress he wore. They didn't mind the fish. Then the king remembered the challenge he had thrown to Gopal. He congratulated Gopal on his achieving the impossible. So Gopal succeeded. He made impossible as possible. He succeeded in his challenge. You too may have this type of challenge in your life, children. Don't lose your heart, don't lose your confidence when you are going to face a challenge. Be bold and brave enough to fulfill your challenge. What type of challenge you may have in your life? How to secure first mark and full marks in your subject. How to answer brilliantly the questions thrown to you by our teachers. How to find new things by referring to the books and by referring to the online and offline video classes. How can you equip yourself with the points given by our teachers? So many things. In many ways, all these things help you to face the challenges in life. Sometimes we cannot expect what sort of challenges we are going to face in our life. Every day, every moment, every minute, you may be forced to face the challenges. You don't know from where it comes. Who has thrown that challenge to you? You don't know. But you should be ready to face the challenges. You should not go back. You should be ready. You have to come forward to face the challenges. That is the right attitude of a student in this age, in this stage. Okay, children, let me sum up the entire story. Listen to me very carefully. It was a court. The king and all his courtiers were there in the palace court, and it was a season for hills of fish. Hills of fish, as I told you already, is a kind of a fish which is found abundantly in the Indian rivers and also the coastal areas of Bay of Bengal. It was the cheapest export item of Myanmar. Myanmar, they export so many food items to other countries, but this hills of fish was most important one among all such food items which were exported to other countries by Myanmar. And it is a seasonal food items. During a particular season only this hills of fish is abundantly available, and in the story it is a season for hills of fish. So fishermen everywhere, they catch, they bring more and more the leaping wealth of the ocean. This fish is generally called by the poets as the leaping wealth of the ocean. So they brought more and more hills of fish to the market. So the market is filled with the hills of fish. Everywhere you can see the hills of fish during that particular season. The buyers, the sellers, the fishermen, the marketeers and all other people. Everywhere you can find the people were talking about the hills of fish. They were so excited to come to know the price. At the lowest price, the sellers were ready to sell the hills of fish at the lowest price, because it is a seasonal business. When the supply is more than the demand, naturally the price comes down. So the sellers are ready to sell more and more at the less and less prices. So the people were so happy to buy. The children were also buy to taste this hills of fish. So in all the kitchen of all houses, they started to prepare hills of fish, the fries, so many things they prepared. So the children were so happy to taste the hills of fish, because during that particular season only it's available. Okay, so it becomes talk of the town. It became talks of the town. Everywhere people started to talk, discuss about this hills of fish only. And even in the court of the palace, the courtiers also started to discuss about the hills of fish. One day it happened, a courtier brought a hills of fish to the market, from the market to the palace, and he showed it to the king proudly that he got it from the market. And then he started to say more and more about the hills of fish. The king had lost his temper. He became very angry. Then the courtier became very silent. He advised all other courtiers to stop talking about the hills of fish anymore. He also asked the senior courtier Gopal to advise others to stop talking about the hills of fish. He agreed. At the same time, the king had thrown a challenge also to Gopal. He challenged Gopal to bring a big size hills of fish from the market, but no one should talk anything about that hills of fish. That was a challenge. He readily accepted the challenge of the king. Then he himself prepared for that. So he went to the market with half-shaven face. He had half side, one side of the face. He had shaved. Then he applied more and more ash powder. He wore dirty and torn cloths. Now he in that dressing, he looked like a beggar or a rag picker. So he reached the market. What happens? He bought a big size hills of fish. Even in the market, everyone looked at him strangely. With that hills of fish, he just started to walk towards the palace. All along the street, the people were looking at him strangely. They asked him what happened, who was he. Children also started to make fun of him. They called him as a madman, a comical, a mysterious man, a mystic. So they called Gopal in different manners because they don't know the real person who was he. Okay, fine. So, but he didn't pay much attention to the calls of the peoples as well as the children. He reached the court, but he was stopped by the security people at the gate of the court. They didn't allow him, but he cried, I want to meet the king. I want to meet the king. He had a fish, big size fish in his hand. But even in the gate, no one talked anything about the hills of fish he had in his hand. They were strangely looked at his strange. They thought that he was a crazy man. They didn't allow him. But he started to dance and he cried loudly to draw the attention of the king and all other courtiers. Everyone came out. They looked at him, the strange way he behaved. Finally, the message reached the king. Then king ordered his security guard to bring that man immediately before him. So they brought him, and the king asked him, who was he? He politely, gently wished him. Then he asked the king, could you identify me, your majesty? But the king couldn't identify him. Then he revealed his identity. I am your courtier Gopal. The king was very much shocked and surprised. Wow, what a man, what a dress you have made up. Really, the dress made me not to identify you. Very nice. What happened to you, Gopal? Why you dressed up in this way? Then he revealed everything. You only asked me, you only had thrown a challenge to me, king, could you remember? You wanted me to bring this hills of fish from the market, but without command of anyone on that hills of fish. So I did exactly the same. When I brought this hills of fish from the market to the court, no one asked him, no one asked me anything about the hills of fish. Only thing they made command on the dress what I wore. Then the king was so happy. So finally what happens? Gopal achieved his challenge. So he fulfilled his challenge. So life is full of challenge, children. Life is full of challenge. So this lesson teaches the same thing. So we should not go back by our challenge. We should not go back by our promise. We should always be ready to face the challenges in our life. We should be ready to face the challenges. You should try at your level best to fulfill your challenges. Okay, children. So this first part of this today's video class, I taught you this lesson. In the next 15 minutes, I am going to spend for to teach you the letters, letter writing. How many types of letters are there in English? How to write such letters? What is the format and layout? I will explain you one by one. Listen to me very carefully. If it is possible, you just to make a note of it in your classwork. Okay, children? Just wait. See, because after evaluating, after correcting your first periodic assessment test, I came to know that you don't know the proper layout of the letters. So therefore I have planned to teach you in today's video class. So what are the letters, how many types of letters are there in English, how to write all such letters, I will explain you one by one. Children, listen to me carefully. Yes, children, next we are going to see letter writing. Letter writing is an art. Letter writing is really an art. You should equip yourself with all the talents needed for to write an effective letter. But in those days, everything is conveyed, everything is communicated to others through letter only. So what is a letter? A letter is a written message. A letter is a written message, or a letter is a message that is written and communicated to someone. When we transfer any written message or written communication, it is called a letter. So simply you can call a letter is a written communication. It is a written message. The written message may be in the form of manuscript. You may write, you may put it into envelope, you may send it to senders, the receivers. Okay, fine. So a letter is a written communication. It is a written message which is exchanged between two. Exchanged between two. When we transfer any written message through mail, it can be termed as letter. A letter can be written. A letter can be in the form of printed matter. Sometimes it may be in the form of typed matter. Okay, fine. So anything, whatever it may be, what is letter? If you are asked, you should know how to answer that question. Letter is a written communication. It is communicated by the writer to the person who receives the letter, sent us to the receiver. So it is a written message which is exchanged between any two. Okay. The letters are of many types or many in kinds. You should know each type, each kinds. Okay. In general, the letters are broadly classified into two types. In general, letters are broadly classified into two types: formal letter and informal letter, or official letter and unofficial letter. These formal letters are inclusive of the following types, or the following types of letters are also called formal letters: official letter, business letter, report letter, notice letter. All these types of letters comes under formal letters. And informal letter is a purely personal letter. Informal letter is purely personal letter. Okay, fine. Now you may have a doubt in your mind, sir, what is formal letter, sir? What is informal letter? Let's know. Yes, I can hear your voice. I will explain you one by one. What is formal letter? Formal letter is an official letter. Formal letter is an official letter. It is formally written for official purposes. Formal letter is written for official purposes. Therefore, it is called official purpose. It is called official letters. The tone of the letter is very formal and structured. It has to follow some specific structure. Formal letters are used for internal as well as external purposes. But it is for official, we write this official letter for purpose only. Therefore, it is called official letters. This formal letter is written for official purposes. Therefore, it is called a official letter. It is for these letters is formal and structured. The tone, the way it is written is very formal, highly formal and structured one. Therefore, these letters, formal letters are always called official letters, because we used to write these types of formal letters only for official purposes. Okay. Then we have to follow specific structure and we have a specific layout for this letter. We have to stick on to this format without any deviation. It is called a official letter because it is written for official purpose. Okay, children. Next, what is informal letter? Informal letter is a personal letter because it is written for personal purposes. The letters written to your friends, the letter written to your parents, the letter written to all your kith and kin and relatives, and to those with whom you don't have any official relation, that's called a personal letter, or they are called informal letters. Though we have some format for this letter, we need not to stick on to this that format always. The informal letter, the tone is highly informal. You have some liberty in your expressions in the informal letters, but it is not like that. In the formal letter, you have to follow the structured style and you are restricted to use the words, and the tone of expression must be highly formal. Therefore, we call them as a formal letter. Okay, fine. What is official letter? The letter written to the official. Sometimes you may write letters to taluk office, you may write letters to the collectorate, you may write letters to your school correspondent, you may write letters to the college officials, you may write letters to the university officials. So they are all the officials. For official purpose, you may write letters to all these persons, to all these personalities. They are called official letters. When a letter is written to the higher authorities, to the officials for official purposes, they are called official letters. Okay, so let me repeat the same again. Let me sum it up. Official letters are written for official purpose. You may write letters to a principal of a school, to the headmaster or headmistress of a school, their correspondent, and the university directors, university officials, and you may write to the government officials like Tahsildar, collector, or any other officials. You may write sometimes the letters to some authorities for inquiries. Okay, all these letters comes under official. Okay, right. The letters written to the editors of the newspaper, they are also coming under this category. Okay, fine. Then business letter. Business letter is a kind of a letter. Here we used to write these types of letter for business purposes, for making orders, for placing orders, for receiving the orders from the business people. Okay, for that purpose only we write business letters. Business letters are written and sent to the business firms and concerns. We used to place orders with them. Okay, fine. Then report letters. Here you are asked to write letters to the editors of the newspapers. Sometimes you may want to report some important matters to the newspapers to draw the attention of the authorities concerned. At the time you may write this type of letters. They are called report letters. These report letters are addressed to the editors of the newspaper, that is to the mass media. You want to focus the important problems to all the people through mass media. Such types of letters are called report letters. Okay, fine. Next, notice letter. Sometimes the government may like to send notice to the other departments. At the time they may send such letters in the form of a notice. That is called a notice letters. Okay, so these types of letters come under the title formal letter. Informal letter, as I told you, is a personal letter. It is written for personal purposes. Okay, children, fine. Next, I will give you the format for formal letter. What is the format? What is the layout for formal letter? You have to follow that formal layout very strictly. Then I will give you the format for informal letter. So they have some specific purpose that also has to be followed. I will give you all those things one by one. Okay, children, listen to me very carefully. Now and then and there you have to note down all the important points when I write it on the board. Yes, children, here I have given you the format for official letter. See, you have to stick on to this format very correctly, and everywhere you have to follow this format. You are not supposed to deviate from this format. As I told you already, these official letters are written for official purposes. Therefore, keeping the format intact is very important. Okay, fine. What is the format? First you have to write the center's address at the top. Center's address at the left top. You have to write center's address. See, I have given here number 72, Ganesh Nagar, New Delhi. This is center's address. Okay. Then after writing the center's address, we have to write the date of letter. Okay. See what I have written, 14th August 2021. Some imaginary date I have given. Okay, fine. So as center's address, then the address should be followed by the date of letter. Then you have to write two address, that is the receiver's address. See what I have given the receiver address, the editor, Hindustan Times, New Delhi. Okay, so sender's address, then you have to write date, then you have to write the two address, then two address should be followed by what I have written here, the opening salutation. In the official letters, you can use the opening salutation, sir, ma'am, Mr., Mrs. Okay, fine. So, sir you can use, madam you can use, Mr. you can use, Miss you can use, Mrs. also you can use. So, this is the way to call the people. As it is official letter, official tone should be there. So you are allowed to use all this opening salutation, sir, ma'am, Mr., Mrs. and okay, fine. Then you have to go for subject. In the subject you have to write the title of the letter. The title of the letter, that's very important. Okay, you have to write the title of the letter. So then you have to write the body of the letter. Normally this official letter is consisting of 3 paragraphs. So normally this official letter is consisting of 3 paragraphs. In the first paragraphs, what you are supposed to write? Identify the purpose of writing. For what you are going to write, that should be given in the first paragraph. That is called the purpose of writing. So the purpose of writing should be given in the very first paragraph. So when the receiver read the first paragraph, he could understand for what this letter is written or addressed to him. Okay. In the second paragraph, you have to highlight the problem. In the second paragraph, you have to highlight the problem, its cause and the effect. That should be given in the second paragraph. In the third paragraph, you have to suggest a possible solution. Hoping authorities will take the note. Okay. So that should be given in the third paragraph. Let me repeat the same, children. So normally these official letters are consisting of 3 paragraphs. In the paragraph 1 or in the first paragraph, you have to identify the purpose of writing the letter. In the second paragraph, you have to highlight the problems, its cause and effect. In the third paragraph, you have to suggest a possible solution of the hoping authorities will take note. Then see, sender's address, date, to, then opening salutation, then this should be followed by subject. Here you have to write the title of the letter, that is called the subject, then body of the letter, content. In the content you have to give clearly the purpose for which you are going to write the letters. Everything should be given in the content, this body of the letter. Then it should be followed by the closing salutation or complimentary close. That's yours faithfully, yours sincerely. You are restricted here. The words restriction is always there because it is an official letter written for official purposes. Then you have to write your name, then the consent. See here your designation. So subscription, super subscription, signature and designation. All these things should be given in detail. So this is the format or layout of the official letter. In the official letter, the letter should start with the sender's address, then the date of the letter, then you have to write 2 address, that is the receiver's address, then opening salutation, then subject, the title of the letter, then content, that is a paragraph, the body of the letter, then what should be given? The subscription, then signature, then designation. All these format you must follow. Okay, children, then let me give you the format for the formal letters, or generally it's a formal letter, how it should be written. As it is a personal letter, you can follow the given pattern. See, this format is for personal letters. Don't forget, what we have seen is only for official letters. Now I am going to give you the format for personal letter, that is called a layout or format. Okay, this layout or format is for personal letter. You have to follow this format. While you are going to write letters, in the question papers most of you don't know the specific layout or format. So you mixed the official with the formal with the informal, but that's wrong attitude. Okay, that's wrong. So now listen to me very carefully. In the format, first you have to write heading. See, heading should be there. Then address of the sender. Address of the sender. Address of the sender, that has to be written, address of the sender. Then date, date has to be mentioned. Date of the letter has to be mentioned. Then see, address of the letter, date, then normally see salutation. Here you have to write the salutation. Salutation, dear, my dear, like that. Then body of the letter. Then body of the letter. Body of the letter. These two may be consisting of 3 paragraphs. Then subscription. Okay, subscription closing or complimentary close, then writer's name and address. Writer's name. Sometimes you may specify here signature. Okay, yeah. This is the format for the or layout for personal letters. You have to follow this pattern. Okay, you have to give the heading. For example, ABC colony, ABC colony, ABC city. See, this is the writer's address. Here the writer has given address of the writer. Then date 15th August 2021. This is the date of the letter. Then it should be followed by the date. Okay. First the writer has to write the address, then date. Then it should be followed by salutation. Dear Bhuja, dear friend, dear uncle, dear father, dear mother, because you are going to write this letter to your friends, kith and kin. So you have every right to call them as you wish, dear. Then body of the letter. See, in the first paragraph contains a short description. Second paragraph contains a long description. Third paragraph contains a conclusion or end part that should be followed. In the first part, introduction. First part, you can give a brief introduction about it. Then main content in the second paragraph. This is first paragraph. The second paragraph, you have to give main content. Okay. In the third paragraph, conclusion or end of the letter. Third paragraph, conclusion or end of the letter. Conclusion or end of the letter. That should be given in the third paragraph. Then subscription. See, yours lovingly. See, yours lovingly. Unknowingly, many of you tempted to use the apostrophe here, but there is no need. Yes, because it is a possessive adjective. So again, you need not to use any apostrophe there. Then name and signature. So this is the correct format of the personal letter. Okay. So in this way, you have to write personal letter. So you have to follow the given layout. You are not supposed to deviate from this format. Okay, children. Now let me repeat. So letter is a form of written communication between two persons, the writers and the receivers, or the senders and the receivers. Letter should be properly designed. Letter should be properly written. The exact words should be conveyed. So it should be brief in its content and point oriented. Letters are of many types, but generally letters are classified into official and unofficial, or formal and informal. Formal letters are called official letters. They are written for official purposes. The formal letters inclusive of formal official letters, report letters, business letters and notice letters. Okay, they are written for official purposes. As I have given you the format: sender's address, receiver's date, then receiver's address, then opening salutation, subject, the title of the letter, then paragraph. It should contain 3 paragraphs, then closing salutation or subscription, name, designation, signature. Everything should be there. Then come to informal letter. This is called a personal letter. Here you have every right to write personal letters to your friends and to our kith and kin, to your relatives. So you can have the liberty to express your ideas in your own way. This is the format I have given, format of the layout. Here you have to start the personal letters with your sender's address on the top. Then it should be followed by the date of the letter. Then opening salutation, dear. Here you have rights to use dear, my dear. Okay, like that you can use, and you can call the person to whom you are going to write by his name also. Then you have to write body of the letter. It may be consisting of 3 paragraphs: introduction, main content, conclusion, end of the letter, then subscription, yours lovingly, then writer's name and signature. These things should be followed strictly. You have to keep all these things in your mind. Try to write so your own letters, so you can get the questions from various sources and try to write answers for such questions. Okay, children, you kindly copy all these things in your classwork. Okay, then after these things we will send you the worksheets as well as the questions for to write these letters. Carefully follow all such things and try to answer these things. Thank you, children. Have a nice day till we meet in the next class. Fine.